The technology tool I want to look at here is the iClicker. And the two things that I really like about my iClickers, first of all, that they allow students to express an opinion, especially if I'm polling them, with complete anonymity. And I'll show you in a moment how I use the iClickers to spark discussion. And during those discussions, often students will choose to remain anonymous, and frequently those who might not have participated find that doing the polling first allows them to then decide if they want to speak up and defend their point of view or give some input, or if they want to wait until another question. So I like the anonymity, at least at the beginning. I should say the public anonymity, because of course I do have the iClickers assigned to each student by name in class, and when the records come in I'm able to tell who gave exactly what answers, which of course if I'm giving a series of questions as a quiz, I'd like to be able to assign points to their correct answers. And if I'm just giving them in-class participation, I want to make sure that they are clicking in and letting their vote be heard. The other thing that I love about them, and that I know the kids really, really love, is the immediate feedback. It's one of the most addictive qualities about video games is that immediate feedback that releases some dopamine in the brain. And in school, students do work and they turn it in, and if the teacher's really good, maybe there's a 24-hour or 48-hour turnaround time, but very often they don't see the results. They don't see what they got right or wrong. They don't get feedback for days at a time, maybe even weeks. So with the iClicker, even if it's just an opinion, they can see immediately where they stand in comparison with their classmates. If it's a preference sort of thing, then they can see, we can tally up the votes and make a decision. And if it's a quiz question, then they can see immediately whether they got it right or wrong. So this first slide shows me using the iClickers for the purpose of simply surveying the students early in the year. This was a couple years into the class, couple weeks into the school year, the year I did this with my English 4 class, and it was my second year teaching seniors, and so I was just kind of trying to gather some data to get to know them better and see how the school year was going for them. So you can see I wanted to know how long they were spending doing English 4 homework, and then I switched that to just any homework on average, what were their total time, and then I wanted to know how they were feeling about it. Was it feeling overwhelming? And you can see that I had about a third of the students already starting to experience a little bit of anxiety and stress, but a good half of them were seeing that more of a time management issue, and then some of them were doing just fine. It wasn't an issue. And then we were going to be starting Socratic circles, and I had a list of guidelines for the group skills actually that they needed to learn. And before just nailing them with this list and saying, here's what you need to learn, and I'm going to be the one to teach it to you, I wanted to kind of get a feel for where their thinking was. And so basically, guideline by guideline, I asked them how important they felt it was for a group to work well, extremely, somewhat, or not really. And then after each one, after they rated how important it was, then I asked them to rate themselves. Were they good, neutral, or bad? Kind of a thumbs up, a so-so, or a thumbs down. And so you can see that there's a difference here. They think being responsible to the group is extremely important, but they see themselves, at least the majority saw themselves, as being rather neutral with it. So this was good information. Listening actively being very important, but they rated themselves about less than half said they were good, and many said they were neutral, and some knew they were downright bad at this. Speaking up, you can see the results. Sharing the air and encouraging others. So as you can imagine, this gave us quite a bit to talk about as a class as we were discussing supporting views and findings, and they really recognized that they had a hard time doing this. And after our first Socratic circle, this really came out as an area where they know they do the reading and they know how to open their mouth and say what's on their mind, but incorporating the reading and citing specific sources. This every year has turned out to be of great importance to the students, showing tolerance and respect, and quite a few of them do feel like they're really good at it. Some of them recognize that they need work, and some of them realize that this is just something that they really need to work on. But you can see out of the how many here? The 4 students who actually realized they're bad at this, none of them rated it as unimportant. They might have been in the somewhat range. So for me as a teacher, knowing that they see it as more important than their current skill level allows them to give evidence of. Helps me realize, okay, this is an area of teachability. They've basically given me permission. Reflect and correct, and I always figure that this one, especially, they don't really know what it is, even when I try to explain it to them. But anyways, you can see it's a really quick way. We went through the questions, took 10-15 minutes, sparked some good discussion, and gave us some direction for some of the group skills that we were going to be working on together as a class. Now, this was also a poll, and we had tried a couple of Socratic circles, and they were okay, but the students were really kind of bored with them. And what they really wanted was some controversy. They really wanted to debate. And I insisted, no, that's not what a Socratic circle is. I really wanted them to learn dialogue skills with an emphasis on listening and seeing possibilities. But I did understand that if the issues that we were looking at were of no interest and if they didn't have some kind of a argumentative edge to it, that the kids weren't going to get engaged. So I came up with a fairly lengthy list, and I think there were 30 some questions to it. And the way I worded the questions, I was looking for C, which you can see on the graph is yellow, and D, which you can see is purple. And really, I was looking for both of these bars to be above the first line, the 25% line, or I was going to ignore it. So just kind of flipping through, I'm not even going to stop to see what the categories are. You can tell, whoa, here we go, our first issue. And sure enough, this was one of the first topics that we chose after this survey, and it was an excellent Socratic circle. Capital punishment. Let's see what else. Nothing, a little bit of a spike there. Not enough, not enough. What was this? Drinking age. Lowering or raising the drinking age. What was this? Drug testing in schools. That one flatlined. What's this one? Oop, we can't see this one. Let's see. Immigration reform, that one I don't think we did. There seemed to be some interest, but not quite enough to tip it over, although the two combined. Boy, this one was really not. Standardized testing, they just had no interest in discussing this. I was kind of disappointed because I was really interested in what they might have to say about it, all the pressure put on them to do well in the SAT and the ACT, but that's not a topic they wanted to do. Exploitation of women they were interested in. So I'm not going to go category by category, but you can just kind of see as I go flashing through here, it was very easy for me to be able to go through and just keep my eye on the yellow and the purple bars. Oh, and then I went through and as part of this survey, since we had already done a couple of Socratic circles, I wanted to see how we were doing with each of these guidelines for the group skills. We don't need any improvement. We need some. We need a lot. And so here we go. Being responsible to the group, they still saw room for growth. Listening actively, kind of the same results. Speaking up, I think this was my class that had quite a few international students in it, and so they recognized that they were struggling to open their mouths. Oh, this one I don't think I got good results. Okay, so here's the question. Share the error and encourage others, and here's probably the results. Okay, here we go. Share the error and encourage others. And again, this was difficult because some of the students just wanted to blurt things out, and anybody who didn't speak, that was their problem. But quite a few of the students came from a culture where they really wanted to be asked a question before they said anything out loud. Supporting your views and findings. Only one person felt like that we didn't need improvement as a group. That continued to be a theme throughout the year. Showing tolerance and respect. This was always interesting because those who were up there really thought they were doing a great job. Those who were down here were so offended. And so finding a happy medium, we worked with that all year long. But the nice thing was it wasn't me saying to them, look guys, you need to work harder. When we pulled out the iClickers and they gave results like this, and then I would ask for input, then we could base our future goals on what they as a student group had said, not the teacher just saying, here, I'm telling you what you need to do. And then reflect and correct ended up kind of being an enigma all year long. Okay, I'm going to cut this part of the recording off and do a part 2 with the next 3 ways that I use my iClickers.